Verity, thank you for coming on the show. It's such a pleasure. I've been a fan of yours for a while, and just been fascinated by your work. Um, and for everyone wondering, or I guess it's quite light out where you are, but it's 5 o'clock, right? Um,
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
and yeah, and it's morning over here. I'm in the U.S. Um, so. Um, Yeah, and so thank you for, fitting me into your schedule. I know it's a bit difficult with overseas stuff. Polly is a what'd you say, sculptor of in paper or
Yeah. Yeah. Paper sculptor. Yeah.
paper sculptor.
Mm.
Yeah, she makes these objects or sculptures out of paper and very fantastical. Um, and you can see right there. Um, yeah, very nice. And even she does these great um almost like busts of people's heads that are quite fantastic. Um oh wow. Wow, that's great. Um mm. When did this all start? When did you start making these paper sculptures or objects?
Um, so I've always been interested in folding paper. Um, my step grandfather wrote a book with his um, uh, with his then wife before my grandmother. He wrote a book called Your Book of Paper Folding, and he gave me a copy when I was quite young. And so, and these were traditional models, but they were just displayed in a um, very easy to understand way. So, um, I think that's when I first um, started doing origami. Um, and but then since then, I've always been interested in uh, how paper works and what you can do with this flat sheet.
Mm.
Um, and then in the 90s, when we we before we even had dial-up connection, um, I would go. I I lived in Edinburgh at the time, and I would go to the local university, Edinburgh University library, um, to to use the computers um, because we didn't yet have dial-up at home, internet connection at home, and this was a way to get onto the internet. And at that time, it was used by university professors and real geeks, and it was just really exciting at that time because the internet was used by real enthusiasts and academics, and I um, quite a few of the physicists, mathematicians, etc., would or engineers would have origami as a hobby, so they would display some of their models online as well as the crease patterns. So I began by folding up other people's designs. So Tom Hull, Valerie Van, um, and various people like that. So academics who had origami as their hobby.
Mm.
Um, and then uh, so that was when was that? It's hard to kind of think of a time now before internet or before it was sort of so connected with what we do. Um, but that was quite early on. And then a little bit later, when we did all have internet connection a bit more at home, um, then I came across a group of people on Flickr, which is like a image sharing um, uh, uh, forum online, and there I found some people who were doing geometric
Mm,
paper folding. And at that time, so were we talking sort of 2005, 2006, something like that? Um, it was really niche. So um, we were, um, there was just a sort of small handful of us who were folding geometric designs. Um, so I was, so that was really inspiring. And I started then to design my own folds. And it was a sort of, it was like a sort of online university of folding. So uh, I would learn from other people and we would share information with other people. So it would be this really sort of back and forth dialogue. So um, uh, almost like sort of designing in unison in a way, because we were sort of bouncing these ideas and learning how other people's brains worked and the slightly different approaches that everyone had to their designing. Um,
mm,
so that was really exciting. So uh, Ray Champ, Christine Edison, Tomohiro Tachi, Eric Jerde, and others doing really exciting things. And so I could connect with all these people, a small seam of people, but we were from all over the world. So it was fantastic to be able to connect um, straight in. And then I went to the origami convention in New York for a couple of years running and was able to kind of meet some of these people in person. So that was very exciting.
yeah, well, yeah. So you're quite involved then with origami in itself, which is um right, quite different than what you do now. So right, do I get that right?
Uh, Not really. I mean, so then I was designing kind of ge geometric repeat patterns, but also curve folds as well. So it all relates, it all joins up. Um, and
Mhm.
I'm still exploring all these sort of seams of investigation. I'm still looking at the same things. Um, it may be the outcome maybe looks different because uh, it is very different. The faces, they're much more sculptural, but um, they are sort of using a lot of the ideas and techniques and I suppose a sort of and understanding of paper and the way it folds within it. Yeah. Um,
Mm, mm. Is yeah, just recently looking at your work through your Instagram, um, some of your work kind of reminds me, of like the great Greek sculptures, like uh like David or the Pieta by Michelangelo. Does that is there any relation, I guess, with that? Because
Absolutely.
yeah. Mm,
Yeah, absolutely. So I am looking for reference uh, to. uh, Greek and Roman sculpture, and uh, I am, uh, and I do see how it has a similarity. You know, the texture of the paper has a similarity uh, to stone, um, and so I can absolutely see how you could come to that idea. Um, uh, uh, yeah, because I just love the way that
I
that
think your screen cut out.
yeah, sorry, that's it. The
I think your screen cut out.
Oh, the screen cut out there. Okay.
Okay, yeah, it's back.
Oh, is it back? Okay. Um, yeah, so I can see what you know what you mean about um the more classical sculptures. D Definitely, yes, I was looking at 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 antiquity and sculpture through the ages. Um, it definitely all sort of feeds in, um, and like the texture of the paper has got that similarity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Does I mean another thing I thought of too, uh, at the same time was was uh like porcelain, like where your work has a very porcelain-like uh look to it. Um, does Is that something that you're interested in, like like porcelain figurines or ceramics of that sort?
Well, I do know that I would I would love to realize some of my work into porcelain.
Mhm.
So there might be a kind of lost paper technique that I can use, so one could coat the pieces in porcelain and then the paper gets burnt away in the firing. Um, so I don't think I've been influenced by porcelain figurines or anything like that, but uh, it would be very nice to realize them in in that material. Be amazing.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, um, yeah, that comes to mind just because I have a little bit of a background in ceramics.
Oh,
Um,
do you?
mhm. Yeah, and yeah, I was always very intrigued by porcelain myself. Um, yeah,
So were you throwing pots or
oh yeah,
making sculptures? Yeah.
yeah, I was throwing pots and throwing um, yeah, all kinds of kitchenware, I guess, and
Okay.
I made these very odd, very odd, um, like uh, what do you call them? They're I guess just trays, but I mean my professor called them um, like smorgasbords or something like that.
Oh.
And
But they were in porcelain.
yeah, yeah, some of them, yeah, and
Yeah.
just very odd, very heavy, and I made them very irregular.
Wow.
But
Sounds
yeah, that'd be great though to see your work in porcelain. I think it would work quite well.
mm.
Um, were you ever interested in mediums before this one, like as an artist, or did you ever see yourself as um an artist separate from making things out of paper? Like, were you interested in painting and the uh, other sorts?
I suppose I've always had sort of sketchbooks and things and been sketching and drawing and painting. Before I started the folded paperwork, I was actually uh, doing some
Mm,
uh, wire and paper work. So making kind of wireframe, um, like a kind of computer wireframe, but in real life, and then coating that in a fine paper skin. Um, so I was making mythological creatures and kind of made up creatures and things like that. So yeah, I think first and foremost, the I'm a sculptor,
mm,
um, and I happen to have paper as the medium that I work in the majority of cases. Um, and yeah, and I come I, uh, I love folding paper because it gives me a constraint. So um, having too much possibility, um, uh, you know, it's difficult to know where to start or what to do. But it having a constraint, which is in this case, it's kind of right. You can only fold the paper, and you can't cut it. You can just fold it. Right, there you go. There's your constraint, and then then I've got something to work within and bump up against. And uh, the possibilities are still endless, but it gives me a framework.
mm, mm, mm. Um, yeah, there's this wonderful Vice documentary about you, and I gave that a watch.
No.
Um, and in that you mentioned that mathematics plays a role in in I mean, it wasn't quite clear, but maybe your way of thinking or something like that. But um, so how does that play out, mathematics?
So I uh, because obviously with the folded paper, especially the geometric repeat patterns, it's all math. But so um, but I'm not a mathematician, but if I've been folding um, non-stop for a month or more, then I I get my eye in and I can just look at a crease pattern and sort of have an understanding of how it might fold or whether it will be possible to fold it. So it's more the way that I come to it is intuitive and pattern recognition. So I'm not looking uh, at mathematical equations uh, or anything like that. But there are people that I know who do come at the folding much more from um, a more traditional mathematical approach.
Mm.
Um, but I don't. But we can get to similar sort of places. Yeah.
Yeah, to some sort of
And
equilibrium.
I think having an intuitive approach means that I perhaps um, kind of, in a way, kind of being that kind of a bit renegade, I can sort of crack out of jump over possibilities, because if the computer says no, you won't be able to do that, then but here I am, I'll give it a go, and most of the time I'll just be uh, the pieces will just end up on the stove, and but um, just sometimes something that might not have been possible, then oh gosh, okay, that actually, yeah, that somehow it's worked.
Mm, mm, mm. Would you say your work is more prone to improvisatory um, way of working um, uh, or some sort of uh, equal equal or not equal but two-sided uh, thing going on or
Um, so yeah, what do you mean? So am I,
Mhm.
you asking, am I improvising or what was the other?
or like say following the rules
Oh,
like
I see. Okay. Well, um, th- the only rules I'm following is that it's a piece of paper and I'm folding it. Um, and then let's see what happens. And it's mainly improvised, yes.
mm-mm,
Uh, So with the more sculptural pieces that are wet folded from the sheet of paper, so the ones that you thought might look more like porcelain um, or sculptures, they they're entirely uh, intuitive. So I just start folding and see what happens, and then I read the paper. So and I read what's already there. So I just encourage what is already there in the paper. Um, and so I'm sort of jamming with it in a way. Yeah.
mm.
Um, because that's is that how you work
um yeah, I mean, well, in ceramics
in your music or in
on my
your
music.
yeah.
No, uh, like it's well, I guess for me it's sort of half and half. It's sort
Yeah.
of I need to set some parameters for myself, but
Mm.
yeah, within those parameters, there's room for improvisation, but
Mhm.
uh, but there's also a guiding thread that leads me to the end, you know.
Okay. Yeah. So when I'm yeah when I'm
Oh yeah.
working with them with the geometric folds,
Hmm.
um, I often pick up a a sheet of paper that I've already been working on, and then I might then manipulate that fold in my hands and sort of reform it in some way. So it may be that I'm changing a straight line into a curve or vice versa. Um, and then um, I will mark where those on the fold, I will mark where those changed lines are, and then I'll open it up. And then I've got some new creases that I will then transcribe up onto the computer crease pattern,
Mm,
tweak that, and then send that out to my scoring machine. So I have a vinyl cutter, so the type of machine that you would use for cutting out uh, decals for signage, so stickers for vehicle or window signage.
mm,
Um, and then I can then take that and then fold it up and see how that new one looks.
mm, mm, mm.
But
Uh,
I'm always looking for uh, visual interest, um, something that is striking or interesting. So if if it's a if it's uh, if it's a design that looks interesting as a crease pattern, it may not necessarily fold up to be something that is visually arresting. So that's what I'm always chasing, the kind of something that looks striking.
mm, mm, mm. Oh yeah, and I have to say too, uh, I didn't think your work looks like porcelain or anything. But I was wondering if there was like if you made references to those, um, which I suppose. Well, I guess that's a separate question. But are there references to those things to
Uh,
either porcelain or the great uh, Greek sculptures?
yeah, definitely, definitely the Greek sculptures. So when you're saying porcelain, what do you mean by that? Sort of figurines and things, or?
Oh, just the material in itself, just how it's a how it's such a silky uh, looking material when it's out of the kiln. Um, and I was just thinking of yeah, just the plain material in itself.
Mm, yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, I think as as I said before, I think uh, porcelain certainly excites me as a material. It's um, uh, just the way that it looks and feels is beautiful, and uh, I drink my morning coffee out of a porcelain mug because it just feels so nice and it's just lovely to drink from. Um, and yeah, and I would love to see my work realized in porcelain um, in some way. But has porcelain influenced my work? Not necessarily, but definitely the uh, Greek statues. Definitely, I've that has definitely been a reference
Mm-mm-mm.
because um, nobody nobody does it better or has done it better.
Mm-mm. Yeah, right. So what has been what has been the your process of getting the recognition that you've gotten for your work? Um, what's that been like?
Uh, the process or
Yeah, the process. So
oh
like how your career has um I mean to me at least it seems like it's sort of skyrocketed.
oh well uh I think in a way I uh I I just can't help doing what I do and and I pursue a thread and I pursue quite a few different threads at once because my brain doesn't sit still um and you know, if one train of thought is being sticky and can't quite make it work, then I can just sort of go off on another trajectory for a while and then come back to the one that was more tricky and difficult. So um,
Hmm.
uh, I'm I'm a little bit bonkers. I'm not trying. Uh, I'm not a very good business person or anything like that. And so um, there might have been kind of opportunities along the line, but I haven't necessarily jumped on them or done much about them. And but you know, who knows? I just have to pursue my various lines and see where that takes me. Yeah.
Mm-mm-mm. Um yeah, so as a composer myself or that I am a composer. Um I've noticed a lot of artists listen to music while they work. Is that do you do that? Because it seems to me that that would be hard to to be in the act of creating something whilst listening to a thing that's already been created. I don't know. So, uh,
Mm.
how does
Mhm.
how does that sit with
Really,
you?
yeah, really interesting question. And I do. And I have a playlist which is it's called Brain Calming.
Hmm.
And I've labeled it Brain Calming. And so I listen to minimalist avant-garde classical music. So Wim Mertens, Michael Nyman, Penguin Cafe Orchestra, um, just Rachmaninoff, just Eric Satie, just or Bach's cello concertos, and just these sorts of things uh, with just a very strong sense of timing that then just slowly, changes over time, but has this lovely settled, I suppose, beat to it uh, that my brain it absolutely calms my brain, and so all these things. It's there's no lyrics to confuse me or anything, so it's just I can just go straight into kind of flow state with the work.
Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, I guess it seemed like it would have to be something very calm like that. Um, so how do you choose subjects for your work, or is that an overt decision, or or
No, I don't really choose subjects. They sort of choose me. It's a so like the geometric work is a progression, but then so is the more sculptural um, things. And so uh, I'm I'm collaborating with the paper. So um, I might just impart just a small crease into the paper, uh, and then I'm just seeing what that sends back to me. What does that look like? What's in there? And then just through a process of experimentation and collaboration with the paper itself, um, then I'm just sort of drawing what seems to already be in there. I'm just drawing it out. I'm just helping it on its way.
mm. And for some reason that reminds me very much of like a John Cage quote, um, where he said, um, like art is, of course this only applies to John Cage, but art is imitation of nature, in our manner of operation, uh, so that um, one is susceptible to divine influences. Um, so that seems like it sort of connects with what you've described. Uh,
Okay. Yeah, maybe. Um, uh, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I use the word divine, but uh, yeah, it's definitely,
sorry, yeah, that was just a thought I had.
yeah,
But
yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah.
um, but do you ever sketch when you're not working with when you're not sculpting, I guess.
I do sometimes, yes, but not for something. So I'm not working ever from sketches. Um, I'm sketching, if I am doing that, I'm sketching directly into a sheet of paper. Um, I'm, uh, yeah, because I think there's the freshness of a sketch that it's I find it very difficult to kind of recreate that. So um, if I want to make something in paper, I'll just take a sheet of A4 and just start seeing what occurs, um, and then develop that further because yeah, that's
Mm.
just how I work. Yeah, directly into it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I read something a little back uh, on you. I think it was an interview with you, and you said you don't mind repeating yourself. In fact, you like repeating yourself. Um, is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Um, uh, well, I mean, just folding up the pieces, so um, I could do that all day. It's very meditative. So I certainly don't mind that. It just gives me joy actually. Um, but also, I think um, I feel quite sort of forgetful in a way, and I used to sort of fight against that, but now actually, it I find that it it frees me up. It means that I can revisit the same place again um, and find myself sort of designing afresh, but um, that I might be coming towards something that I've already worked on before, but um, I can approach it just very slightly differently, come at it from slightly different angle and um, come up with another solution perhaps which might be um, relevant. Yeah.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, so do you have oh yeah, do you have formal training as an artist?
I studied furniture design, but no no formal training as an artist. But then um, I did grow up with artists all around me. So both my parents, artists.
Mm, mm. What did they do?
So my father was a sculptor in stone,
Mm,
um, and my mother, she's uh, does all sorts of things, but printmaking, sculpture,
mm.
um, lots of different things.
So
She
it
was,
seems like um that that I guess this sculpture is maybe part of your family, or so it
yeah,
is what were they influences on you, or were they, I guess uh helpful to you, like with your
yeah,
work?
yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in a house where, there was workshops attached to the house, integral,
Mm,
and all sorts of materials all around. Um, and so people were just fiddling with materials all the time and making things. So that was just what we all did.
mm, mm. Um,
So it was sort of seamless, that's it's sort of how you live your life is, there was no, yeah, there was no like, right, okay, now I'm going to go into the studio and make some work. It's just like, you wake up and you're making work immediately.
mm, mm. Um, yeah, that's very unique. Um,
Yeah.
were they um I guess critical um of your um I guess of using that material of paper?
No, no, just only. encouraging and yeah, but also just sort of anything goes and um, yeah, just as long as they were just happy that I was doing what I wanted to do. So yeah, they're great.
Mm-mm.
Mm.
Yeah, sorry, that description of your family like kind of like spun me for a loop because it's very uh yeah, I don't know anybody that had that sort of experience.
Really? To me, it's normal.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Of course, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Do you believe that location this is actually this is a subject I've been quite interested in myself. Do you think that location has influence over over yourself or over your work? Um, because I know some artists feel like don't um, they don't identify with where the place that they live in, but also um, you hear stories of like I mean this may be a bad example, but like this is the first thing that popped in my head. That Woody Allen talks about New York uh, being a influence over his movies. So how does a location uh, um, play play out in your life?
Uh, it it's not so much location as space that is really uh, that I find really changes uh, the work. Um, so um, throughout my life, I've always landed on my feet in terms of studio spaces. So I don't think there's ever been a time when I haven't had a really extraordinary and beautiful and kind of high ceilinged space with lots of light. And I don't know how that's happened, but I've just sort of landed on my feet that way. So there's always been an opportunity to rent something beautiful. Um, and that does make a huge difference. Um, yeah. So if I'm in a space that sings, then that's everything.
Does chaos in terms of living in a chaotic space with lots of things around, is that are you more prone to that or prone to kind of cleanliness? Because
Oh, very interesting. Yes, your questions are amazing because they really, you're asking all the right things, like what do I listen to and what is the state of the space and is it chaotic or minimalistic or what? So in
thank
my
you.
head, it's absolutely clear and minimal, but in reality, it's complete chaos. And I have kind of projects here, there, and everywhere, and um, uh, but it's like the work itself becomes then um the sort of clears everything away. So like if I concentrate on the work and I always make a nice clean space for my videos and things like that. So but the behind the scenes it's sort of chaotic. So I kind of working with the two really. Yeah.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I can completely identify with that. Self. Joseph Albers had a way of teaching, or he developed a way of teaching um, using paper. Um, did you read any of that stuff?
About the Bauhaus movement and his work with the students.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm,
yeah, I haven't really read much, but I th I might have sort of seen some images and things and been very inspired by what they were doing.
mm, mm,
Yeah. Um, yeah, the whole Bauhaus movement is just so exciting, and the costume design and everything. Yeah,
mm. Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah, it truly is. So when you, I mean, it seems to me that that this probably isn't the case, but just from your description of making things in a very organic way, do you ever think of like parameters of scale or of depth or of those kind of classical principles in art?
So scale and depth.
Yeah, or just anything else like texture or shadow or just any of those things. Does any of that crop up uh in I guess your way of working in detail?
Mm, yeah. Um, well, yes, definitely. I mean, all the time, really, and it's really interesting with the paper. If I do try to scale things up, then I have to scale up the weight of the paper itself because structurally it needs to hold itself. Um, so I can't, if I'm working at this scale with quite a fine paper, then if I've got to go bigger, then I've got to increase the thickness of the paper that I'm working with. Um, and then also if I'm scaling up, um, it's with something small at this sort of scale, I've got 10 digits, all my fingers to work with. But if I'm scaling up, then it's a much more tricky process to manipulate the folds at that sort of scale. So I'm having to use my elbows or my knees or my whole body to fold up something. Um, and So yes, I mean the scale and uh, definitely comes into it a lot. And with the geometric repeat patterns, uh, visually, and a bit like the kind of minimal classical music that I was talking about earlier, the more repeats that I can get in the sheet of paper, then it just um, it does the same thing visually to my brain as the minimal classical music because um, I don't know, it just calms me to see um, that amount of repeat pattern, and the more there is, I find it uh, such a calming landscape to look on, and I think that's why I just love folding and making
Yeah.
these things. Mm.
Mm-hmm. When do you when do you know uh when to stop when work is finished?
Um, so uh, if it's the geometric repeat work, it's it's when I found uh, a fold that just looks interesting, the way that the light and shadow work.
Mm,
If it's the more sculptural pieces, uh, I am often working with wet folding, so I'm uh, wetting, pre-wetting a sheet of watercolor paper, and then I'm folding it. Um, and while I'm folding it, it's slowly drying. And once it's dried, it's fixed in place. And there's not. much I can sort of manipulate anymore anyway, because the material itself is kind of hardened by that point. As soon as it dries, it's hard.
Mm,
Um, so that by dint of its drying, that tells me, right, okay, that piece is finished. And that's quite good actually, because it means that I will stop then and not over, because there's always the danger of overworking. So it's quite good because it means that I might have stopped earlier than my brain would think that I could do, but often it just captures it at a fresher point.
mm, mm. Um, so you see that as I guess a virtue in your working process, I assume. With
What the
no, just waiting for or working until the work is dry, I guess.
yeah,
So you can't work on it anymore.
yeah, yeah. No, it's good. Yeah.
Mm. Um, yeah, and I saw some photos of of um I think it was um skirts that you made
Oh
from
yeah,
paper. Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
So um I guess how does one go about um making that, and also did you ever did you ever try to make it in like an artistic series, or something that people can buy, or something like that?
No, never something that's one to buy. But uh, mainly either to commission. So someone has asked me to make something for a particular project, or um, just making the pieces um, because I considered that fold needed to be worn and in some way. Because with the geometric work, um, uh, often when I'm displaying it and putting it into a frame, I'm kind of when I'm framing it, that then locks it into the amount of compression that it that fold is going to be under. But that same fold might have any number of possibilities. It could be stretched out a bit, or it could be compressed even further. And um, when somebody is wearing a piece, then you can have the piece can be animated. You can see it at its as it's moving, and you can see its range of compression. And that's, I think, that's the whole point really of the folds, uh, and why they sort of delight me when I'm working with them, because of this movement. And so make turning it into costume or something wearable means that I can share the joy, because it just, yeah, if it's moving, it can be amazing.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's just seeing mathematics in motion, really.
mm. Or so would you ever consider making that a um making that um yeah, I guess, I mean, a series of some sort, or is that more of just like um I mean, I guess the more I'm talking to you, it seems like you don't really think in those terms. Um, but I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe you could
I'm
comment.
happy for things to turn up, things to come by chance. Yeah. Um, so yeah, so it just depends. And I don't really mind, what might animate the pieces, but some of the pieces really do need to be animated. So I do dream sometimes of I don't know, working with a kind of roboticist or someone who can help me with some um little servo motors to set these some of these pieces up in a gallery so that they can articulate and
Mm,
move.
mm, mm, mm. So um, some artists are scared. Yeah, I guess I would say that scared of repeating themselves. And I just want to touch on that just a little bit. Uh, so I guess why aren't you?
Why aren't I scared of repeating myself? Uh, because it's what I'm all about. It's repeating.
Mm,
So it's a geometric repeat pattern. It's um, listening to this music, which is just doing, just the same thing is repeated with just a very slight change. And uh, yeah, it's just how I am. And it's never something is never completely repeated. There's always a slightly incremental difference or um yeah. So um yeah, so I am repeating pieces um within their little niche, but then I'm also trying trying out very different things all the time, kind of simultaneously as well. So um, uh, I like the repeating, but I also like to jump about and do something completely
mm.
different as well.
Um, yeah, so it's been a pleasure talking to you. I don't want to take up any more of your time. So but I do have one last question. Um, it's kind of a compound question, but uh, what's new on the horizon for you? And also, what are you up to? What are you up to nowadays?
Okay, so new, what is new? I think, well, I'm just picking up threads of things that kind of delight me. Um, I I took some time out of my work because I was going through uh, um, a, a bereavement, and before that, um, my dad was not well for a bit. But I'm just feeling that I'm coming back into my work with it with a kind of renewed vigor. Um, so I'm just picking up on threads of thought of trajectories that have been sort of sitting there in the background, and now that I can sort of give them some energy, which feels really, really exciting.
Mm. Well, it's
Yeah,
yeah, well, it was great talking to you. I'm sorry, I'm sorry about your father. Um, I didn't mean to end it on that note, but or bring that up for you. But
that's fine.
yeah, but it's been great talking to you. So thank you everyone for watching, and I hope you enjoy the show. Before you click out of this video, I just wanted to bring to your attention, I just started a Patreon account, so you can support me through there if you wish. And what you'll be getting is exclusive material pertaining to my podcast, as well as my music and my visual art as well. Um, as far as music, You can get sneak previews of things I have cooking up, and also you can have early access to recordings. On the visual art side of things, I will be giving out art zines, which, if you don't know, it is an art form which is meant to display as well as rearrange artwork into the size of almost like a mini book. And so you can get that if you become a member on my Patreon for the cheap price of $3 a month. And it helped me a lot making these videos. And yeah, so I guess that's about it. So thank you everyone for watching, and hope you enjoy the video. Like and subscribe and do all that stuff, and go check down links below. Okay, thank you everyone.